This summer, we saw more people going out into the city streets to shop and dine, but the Omicron variant may have turned it around, and people are now sort of keeping their distance. And this has left the recovery timeline for urban retail as something of an open question. So, this week, we're going to be looking at how foot traffic has recovered in America's prime urban corridors, plus two recent noteworthy retail partnerships to dig into. And we're going to look at where Savage X Fenty plans to open its new stores, its physical stores in 2022. All of that right now on everything we know about retail. Hello, my name is James Cook, coming to you from Indiana. So the last time I went shopping in the city was only 2 weeks ago. It was in downtown Denver. I went to the new location of the Tattered Cover bookstore. They've just moved into McGregor Square, which is a new mixed-use project next to Coors Field. Interesting. Well, Ebere Anokute, you're in New York.
I am. And the last time I went shopping in the city was about a month ago during holiday time. And I went to the new Nordstrom on 57th Street looking for some gifts for my family.
Very cool. And Taylor Coyne is in Los Angeles.
And the last time I went shopping in the city was 2 weeks ago at all of the home furnishing stores in existence, at least in Old Pasadena.
How many home furnishing stores are in Old Pasadena?
A lot, I think about 7.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's a real district down there.
It really is. It has everything you need and more.
And this is everything we know about retail, where you're going to get everything you need and more if it's information about retail. This is where we tell all you guys everything we know about retail. We do it 3 things at a time. We're getting right into it. So Taylor, what do you know about retail?
Here, James, is the first thing that we know about retail. As we always talk about, we know that people are amped to get back to normal, but we can't. We want to shop, we want to travel. What's the problem? Omicron.
Oh.
A dastardly whisper, Taylor.
Well, it feels like it's one of those like a real evil villain type of moments where it's like, yeah, we're still talking about this. We are still talking about this. This is what is standing between us and city recovery. So yes, this is a little thing called Omicron. We all know it. It's crazy. This is really holding us back because, we want to get back out there. So this is a survey done by Morning Consult, which, by the way, they're conducting weekly with roughly 2,200 adults. So 78% of Americans feel safe going to a grocery store, which is an increase of 2 percentage points from last week, which, I still think that that's good news. But great, we're all feeling good going to the grocery store. This is where it gets a little tricky. Only 56% of consumers said they feel safe going to a shopping mall, which is no change from last week. So we're kind of middling on those. And again, Omicron is really making this, the people who are going out there feel good about it. There are more people who are feeling good about it, but we still got a big, chunk of people who are not feeling great. So all of this said, we hear that you're comfortable going out there, but what is it? But are we? Are we getting out there? So for big fans of the show, everyone has seen this chart before. This is one that we're going to continue to show until we're at full recovery. But you can see from this, so this is looking at our select urban malls, select suburban malls across the country, along with our prime urban corridors. Suburban malls, basically back to normal and has been for a while. Of course, there are fluctuations, but there are fluctuations in the normal times as well. What we're going to focus on is our urban corridors. They're just a little bit low. We're all just kind of middling down there. Again, fluctuations, but we are all still below pre-pandemic levels. So this is the change in foot traffic, of course, from 2019. We're still struggling. It's clearly not as bad, except in suburbia. We're still in suburbia. So we've got 2 main problems as I see it. It's travel and offers return. So This is travel. This is what do you feel comfortable doing? So again, this is from Morning Consult, of which are you feeling comfortable going on vacation and how do you feel? You know, they even went down into like, yeah, of course you're going to feel more comfortable going on a road trip. But anyway, again, still kind of middling, right? We're still so much better. But I think there's a lot of thought for a lot of people on whether or not you're going to take that trip. So we're not seeing as much of that tourism than we were pre-pandemic, and especially right now with Omicron. Like you can see there have been surges of more, comfort. But again, just middling a little bit. Again, office occupancy. So this is from our office counterparts. As of December, we were still only at 50% occupancy in our office buildings. As I think we all know too, everything kind of got pushed into next year in terms of return to the office. People who said January are now saying March. We'll see how that goes. I think it's really interesting, though, to see which markets have some of the highest reentry rates. I don't think it's really that surprising. Texas is pretty high. But, we're getting there. We're getting there. But all of this, as we know, without the travelers, without the workers, it's, we're just going to struggle. But I would
that
really
Austin number, just to jump in, that Austin number is the highest number we've seen. That 57% of office workers in their offices on any given day in Austin, Texas that's the highest number I've seen in any city in the US. Well, obviously since the pandemic started.
Correct. Sure. But still, again, positive. What's not on this list? And it's something that we're going to talk about next in terms of true urban return. Look at that, Miami. So this is foot traffic for all of our, it's grouped by market, but so for all of our viewers, these are our prime urban corridors within these markets. So in Miami, really, what is keeping this afloat is Design District. Design District hasn't missed a beat. People have been back there as soon as, Florida eased their restrictions first, right? So people were flocked to Miami, as like someone described it as all the snowbirds came, but they're different kind of snowbirds this year. It's like everyone, it's not just the older people coming from New York. Like snowbirds has now been broadened for far more people. And they had, as everywhere had stricter lockdowns, cool, let's go to Florida. We can eat outside. We can do whatever. So apparently, the restaurants in the Design District just did phenomenally this past year. They've even had some move-ins, but I think it's more of just like all of those stores have done so well. Chanel opened a flagship in the Design District. But again, it's just Miami was a great place. You can't travel internationally, but we can go to Miami.
Absolutely.
I feel like that has that kind of flair. So I don't know about you, but this is not terribly surprising, even though I would have expected some of the other corridors to maybe sometimes peek through, but no, Miami for the win.
Taylor, I'm curious. Can you tell me and maybe some of our listeners what are the sorts? You mentioned the Chanel store opening there, but what are the sorts of what's the price point of the Design District? What sort of retailers do we usually see in that part of Miami?
Oh, Ebere, fantastic question. Luxury.
It's pretty high.
Luxury.
Sure.
So again, the move-in of Chanel really says something. Just recently they signed like a very don't even know what it is, a private membership club. Think kind of Soho House, but maybe even more, I don't even know how high end, I suppose.
Sure.
So we are seeing our luxury corridors do very well, which I think is kind of interesting, right? I was flashing back to what we said was going to happen when the pandemic first hit. Economic uncertainty, tightening of the wallets. And of course, that happened to a lot of people. There was a lot of job loss, but it very quickly was like, oh no, luxury barely skipped a beat and has been seeing great sales. People are really excited about that kind of luxury experience, which also in hindsight makes a ton of sense. So another corridor that's done wonderfully is Beverly Hills. Like Rodeo Drive has very little vacancy. Any vacancy is actually just stores redoing their stores. So it's like a fake vacancy. Wow. They're in a pop-up down the street because they're spending millions revamping their existing store. So we've just seen really, and in Canada too, unfortunately, there is no foot traffic for Canada, through how we look at it. But Bloor Street in Toronto has been doing great also, just because it is such a luxury destination and they've had some really, strong move-ins. But even though we
And
were,
so
yeah,
just like
sorry,
they're
James.
doing great as far as occupancy, most of them. I don't think Fifth Avenue is doing that great though, is it, Eberry?
No, I
Um,
was thinking maybe Soho might be the
yeah,
luxury part that's doing well. Yeah.
but the rents are down like
Yes.
significantly. And that's how the occupancy has stayed up, is because landlords have lowered the rents.
But it is interesting that it's like kind of returning to business as usual. Everyone I spoke to, it's like, yes, rents dropped, especially with so much uncertainty last year. And some are already back at 2019 levels. It definitely seems like a different environment, but it is fascinating. It's like kind of business as usual for a lot of them. That's not across the board, but for some of those markets, it's shocking how quickly some of them rebounded. And then again, we have some that haven't. You know, like I said, we were talking about domestic travel. This is also according to Placer AI. So this is their domestic, tourism travel. You just still using cell phone data. San Francisco is the only one, San Francisco struggling. Union Square, another technically, specifically a couple of their streets have a lot of luxury. The whole entire corridor itself isn't necessarily luxury, but they had like 1 or 2 move-ins between 2020 and 2021. So, that just like hasn't rebounded. So it's so like clearly tourism really does impact our urban corridors.
I want to say that I'm a real counter trend person here, because the 3 cities I've been to post pandemic are the ones with the worst recovery: San Francisco, DC, and Chicago.
Yeah, well, good for you for, getting back out there. According to our hotels team, though, Chicago is, now that sports are back, Chicago's getting back into it. So that's good too. And we have, Museum of Ice Cream is going to be moving on to Michigan Ave. There is some activity, but it has definitely, there's no sugarcoating it. Chicago is taking a lot longer to recover than, say, Miami's a bad example because of how well it's been doing. But for any of our other corridors. But, we've still seen activity. We've seen a lot of home furnishings. Shout out to Joybird, who's opened, I think, 3 stores on corridors across the country. Got a lot of athleisure. Another Vuori, which I do happen to be wearing their joggers right now. They're very soft and wonderful. They've opened a few stores as well, Lululemon. So, things are opening. We definitely have some winners. But, it's just going to take some time. Like everything, just going to take some time. But the moral of the story also, get back out there, start shopping, go on some road trips.
Absolutely.
I love a good road trip.
Who doesn't? Eberry, what do you know about retail?
Well, Taylor, here is the second thing that we know about retail. So we all know, obviously, we've heard of, have you guys heard of a, very small kind of indie artist named Rihanna? I don't know if you guys have come across her before.
Never.
Yeah, like she only releases, like these underground albums that nobody's heard of. Yeah,
definitely in the trenches, so you might have to be plugged in. But she and her Savage X Fenty brand, obviously, they want to continue to grow and remain competitive in the retail landscape. For anyone who might not be super familiar, Savage X Fenty is her lingerie and sleepwear, loungewear line, and it originally gained popularity when it launched back in 2018 because of its inclusive sizing. Right. So whereas the other options, which I won't even name them, I'm not even going to try to drag them down. But the other options at the time weren't as inclusive and didn't include, that many different sorts of sizes and body types, especially in their advertising. And she really shook things up when she came on the scene with Savage X Fenty, because their sizes range anywhere from extra small to 3X. And she made sure to include, models of all those different sizes in any of the, runway shows and presentations. So obviously it got really popular because of that. And we know that Rihanna has introduced a lot of products to us over the course of the past few years. I know if anyone is a fan of her, they know that, nowadays we can expect more cosmetics through Fenty Beauty or lingerie through Savage X Fenty than we can expect music from Rihanna, because she seems to have left that stage of her career in the past. And I think, that's the different ventures that she's kind of gone through really exemplify the stakes when it comes to some of the different moves that she's made, because we also remember that a couple years ago, LVMH announced that they were going to be producing a luxury house with Rihanna, the Fenty house. And unfortunately, due to low sales, they discontinued that within the year. So obviously, it's not just that anything Rihanna puts out is going to automatically, turn to gold. She really has to, did you know that, James, that they
That's okay. So what's interesting is the story I heard was they put it on pause because of COVID, but it really, so I guess sales weren't good either. I didn't know about that.
No, I definitely had read about low sales, and they were doing a sort of, I mean, that was almost an online retailer as well, right? Because they were only releasing they didn't have any physical stores, and they were releasing their collection in drops. And I think they started to see with all the subsequent drops that sales were decreasing and decreasing. So they did officially announce it as a pause, but that was over a year plus ago. So I think we can imagine where that's going. But obviously, there's a lot of competition in these sort of arenas that she's entered. And in order to continue growing and to establish a presence as a major player in the lingerie game, they recently announced, Savage X Fenty, that they're going to be opening new physical stores. I had a picture of the stores to show, but this StreamYard does not want to cooperate with me. So let's imagine, a beautiful, I'll describe it to you. I'm looking at a rendering of a beautiful store with neon lights, a lot of rainbow colorings, some very provocatively posed mannequins, because obviously we're selling edgy lingerie. This is not, Gap, right? We're trying to, make some waves here. And they announced that they are going to be opening 5 stores this year, right? So in January, they'll be opening their first one at the end of this month in Las Vegas, and they'll also be opening one in Los Angeles by the end of January as well. And then the plan is to open 3 additional stores in February in Houston, Washington D.C., and Philadelphia. Right. Their official statement from the CEO reads, on the heels of the brand's incredible growth since first launching in 2018, this new direct consumer experience is the next step to bring a fuller expression of the brand to consumers in key markets. And I'm very interested in those key markets that they chose. And I want to ask you guys about that as well. I'm sure you all remember a couple years ago, JLL Research released a Clicks to Bricks report where we found that New York City was by far the most popular location for online retailers to open their first physical stores. So I want to know, why do you guys think that Savage X Fenty chose Vegas, LA, Houston, DC, and Philly as the location for their first physical stores? Because I would think, thank you so much, Taylor, for pulling it up for me. That's exactly the picture that I was attempting to describe. So I think I did a pretty okay, neon lights.
You did neon. Yeah. I think that's great. But I was just like, great. I found it. Here it is.
Thank you so much. Your computer's working a lot better than mine, so I appreciate that. But I do want to, obviously on that same report, we said that New York was the most popular location, Los Angeles was second, and then Toronto was third, I believe, for pop-ups. And for permanent stores, which is what these are, it was New York and then Los Angeles, and I forget the third. It might have been, Chicago was the third, which also is not one of the stores mentioned here. So what are you guys thinking? What is the logic behind going to these, other locations? Do you think that they're on to something new, or do you think they kind of maybe missed the mark entirely?
No, I think it makes sense. Yeah,
Vegas, I think makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And also just looking at that store. Yes.
Yeah. So
it's a Vegas sort of store.
Yeah, it's a edgy, the clothing line is edgy. It's trying to be super sexy, also inclusive. It's the kind of, Vegas is the kind of place. Vegas has had total tourism recovery. LA, I think it fits there.
Yep.
Houston makes sense because it's mostly a suburban market. So foot traffic is going to be a lot higher wherever they put a location.
For sure.
I think for DC and Philly, going there allows you to get the East Coast, but without messing with New York rents. So maybe there's an opportunity there. I can't imagine that Manhattan is too far off the radar. That's got to be the next location.
I would be very curious to know where in DC they are going to open.
True.
This is not an M Street store.
I don't think so either.
No, not at all.
I'm blanking on the kind of, I don't know how much retail is there. I know there's a lot of redevelopment happening in that kind of more industrial area that I don't know. And I know they're restaurants, very trendy restaurants, but I don't know if there's retail. But if newer brands like that are kind of dabbling in that area, I could see it. But I'd be curious in DC where they're going.
There's
Absolutely.
no place where I close my eyes and think, oh, that's the perfect location in DC, because it's got to be
Right.
fashionable but edgy,
Hmm.
like like a downtown LA or something like that,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, unless they're going to, what is it, City Center, which
That doesn't fit at
I
all.
mean, I thought
No
it's like
way.
but
I
the
think
Yeah.
there's
luxury,
a
am I right?
Target there.
But City Center is where all the luxury is, right?
It is one of the places. It's a high-end outdoor luxury
Yeah.
mall. It's
Yeah.
very antiseptic.
Hmm.
I take that back. They might put it there just to
Mhm.
hip themselves up. I think that could work.
Maybe.
That's kind of what I was thinking in terms of, brands of, and also that it's been doing well. That's not one of our prime urban corridors because it is one developer, but
Mhm.
that is apparently they've done well again because of the concentration of luxury. So perhaps that's another, I could see that. I could see that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see because they've been pretty mum about the actual locations. But I definitely agree with your assessment of Vegas, LA, and Houston. And even Taylor, as you were talking earlier, Philadelphia seems to be one of the top markets for, office recovery to come back. So maybe they saw something there, or there's some personal tie that one of the people, one of the decision makers has to Philly. And I also can see the East Coast sort of spin to that without having to come to New York and, see the really high rents. Because if they want to go, where a brand like this would go, I'm thinking like Soho, maybe NoHo, maybe even Nolita ish, right? And that is definitely going to come with a hefty price tag, especially when compared to these other cities. So I just thought it was very interesting for them. If you would have asked me, I would have said, yeah, probably New York, probably Miami. I would have think that this is something that could definitely go in
Yeah.
Miami. So very interesting to me to see that they chose those other locations, but ultimately a good idea, I think, is our consensus.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Wynwood in Miami would
Wynwood.
be perfect
100%.
for this brand.
Yeah. I'd also
100%.
be really curious. I mean, you have to know how much data they have on like Rihanna fans.
Sure.
So I wonder too, like
Sure.
if there are like Philadelphia has an abnormal amount of her fans. I just wonder if how much that plays into it also, or if not, and it's specifically a real estate decision. But again, you kind of have to just imagine on how much data everyone has on their customers,
Right.
and also this is like a different level.
And what is the correlation between, like, I think about, like, if you had data around Rihanna streams on Spotify, that
Mhm.
wouldn't necessarily correlate with like, I listened to Rihanna this morning,
Correct.
and I
Yes,
wouldn't
it
be
does
buying
not.
Savage underwear.
Right, exactly. I totally agree. Not necessarily the same, but there's got to be some, or even like Instagram follow. Who knows? But
Mhm.
I'm just saying, I wonder if that does have anything to do with location.
It
Just
definitely
putting it
could.
out there.
No, I think that's very fair, Taylor, especially when it comes to these, digitally native brands. They have all of that data, right? Maybe they've received an inordinate amount of orders from the Philadelphia area. That's
Right,
exactly
right.
why they chose
Yeah.
to go there. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Even talking about the popularity that the celebrity brings, I think this is, exemplifies some of those a major trend that we're seeing right now, which is these celebrity backed brands, which are thriving, right? I think, the earliest one I can think of might be Fabletics with Kate Hudson, which now I think has completely separated itself, not that it wants to, but separate itself from her. I feel like I learned about Kate Hudson's involvement a year or two after I knew about what Fabletics was. And even in sort of the same realm as Savage X Fenty with Skims by Kim Kardashian West, I can definitely see the sort of radiuses or locations throughout the country where the celebrities have the most buzz being, target markets for them when it comes to opening physical stores. But I think overall, this is major. It's great news for real estate, especially because, this is an online retailer that was able to reach a $1 billion valuation in February of last year, according to Forbes, selling directly to consumers, right? So, and they have a pretty interesting business model themselves because, it's sort of a partially subscription model where you have to pay like a monthly subscription, or you have the option of paying a monthly subscription fee. And then as an extra VIP member, you get lower prices on all of the products for, whenever you choose to order them. So
I didn't know that.
yeah, very unique sort of business model. And you do have the option also of like skipping the month for that extra VIP. So you're not
That was
charged
the
for that month.
original Fabletics business model too.
Oh, wow.
But they kind of switched, and now it's more like they're the Lululemon competitor at the mall.
Yeah, there's definitely a Fabletics at the local mall near me, and I was like, that's. When I walked past the store, I was like, that's interesting. But no, I think with they've shown they can be successful selling directly to consumer, and so the fact that they think the way forward for them to grow is by opening physical stores, I think just like we sound like broken records, but highlights the importance of the physical storefront, and it's definitely a great portent for the industry going forward. So. I'm really excited about that. I'm sure you guys are too. Taylor, I know you're going to be first in line when it opens over in LA. But James, what do you know about retail?
Well, okay, guys, it's time to get into the third thing that we know about retail. Retailers want to win. That's what they care about most, earning money, earning customers. And usually that means they're competing with each other. But every once in a while, partnerships form when it's deemed equally advantageous to both parties. So we're going to talk about two recent partnerships. One that happened back in November, which we didn't talk about, and I wanted to bring it up, and another one that was just announced. So the first one, we talk about New York so much, but now let's fly back to Manhattan. We're going to the new Starbucks and Amazon Go partnership store. It's at 111 East 59th Street. This is between Park and Lex on 59th Street. Opened in November, and we did not talk about it, so I want to talk about it now. So this is a combo store. It uses technology from both Starbucks and Amazon. So it's a Starbucks pickup store with an Amazon Go marketplace inside. So you can order with the Amazon app, or you can go and shop with the marketplace. So the store has elements from Starbucks. So it's got a pickup window where you can pick up your mobile orders. You can get a full Starbucks menu. And then beyond that is the Amazon Go marketplace area that you get into by either scanning your phone, or you can also use your palm print, which is what Amazon calls Amazon One. Have either of you guys used the Amazon One palm print scan? Are you aware of that?
Aware of it? Don't want to.
I've never even heard of it. I'm not even aware of it myself.
Yeah, it's pretty new. So basically, you hover your palm over this device and you can pay for things, or you can enter a place. Basically, Amazon says that your palm print is completely unique to you, and it's like a thumbprint but bigger. And so they can create an algorithm based on your palm print, and it gets linked to your identity. It gets linked to a credit card of your choice. The play here is that they want to license this palm print technology to other stores. So maybe I go shop at the grocery store, and instead of paying, I scan my palm. You know what I would love? At the airport, scanning my palm to get on the flight. That would be great too. Mostly right now, it's just at Amazon Go. There's a couple of other locations. You can do it at some Whole Foods, which are obviously owned by Amazon. And there's a couple of venues. I forget which ones, but like there's like a Seattle concert venue that you can get in with your palm print. But anyway, let's get back to this Amazon Go / Starbucks pickup combo store. So you can scan your palm or your phone app in order to get in. So you walk inside, and it's kind of a little mini Amazon Go market. So it's a curated assortment. You got drinks, you got salads, you got sandwiches, you got bakery items. So you pick up whatever you want, and you can eat there. You can hang out there. So they have work tables. You see in the back, they have little individual workstations where you could go and do some work at. They've got USB plugs. Whatever you consume gets added to your virtual Amazon cart. And then basically when you leave the store, it gets charged to your account. So I messed around with Amazon Go technology before. I've taken stuff off the shelves, put it back on, tried to fool it. I haven't been able to fool it. When I leave the store, it knows what I took. The interesting twist here is it's a lounge that you're only going to get access to if you've got the Amazon Go app in order to scan to get in.
I wonder if people are going to be like, what is this? And storm through anyway. It's kind of one thing if you go into an Amazon Go store, you sort of know what you're getting into. But if you're walking into a Starbucks, like, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for this VIP lounge in the corner.
Well, the deal is, though, you can't get in. So if I order a Starbucks pickup, I can go pick that up. But if I want to get any farther in the store, I have to scan either my Palm or my app. I have to be a part of the Amazon ecosystem in order to get into the store.
Can I order a coffee if I haven't picked it up? Like, it's not just grab and go.
So it's a Starbucks pickup, which is supposed to be oriented about mobile order pickup. They do, I believe, still let you order there. It's just they're not really configured for that. They're really configured for picking up mobile orders, and that's what they're going to encourage you to do.
Right. Which I think we've talked about this before of like, sure, that's a great idea, but also you're going to get those people like, what are you talking about? I can't order a coffee.
Right.
Give me the coffee. I would like to order a coffee. Give me the coffee. That you're a coffee store. So I can see that you kind of have to do both of just like, granted, in that location in New York, you are getting people just going to work, like, you know, really quickly. But at the same time, I don't know, you still get tourists of just like, again, what are you talking about? I want to order my coffee.
I feel like if, like you said, James, the goal is the technology and to begin selling that to other companies, then that makes sense. But as far as selling coffee, I think this might make it a little bit more difficult. And I think sometimes there's a habit to try to fix things that aren't broken. And I wonder if the way that we currently interact with cafes is something that needs to be, revamped from like a personnel staffing standpoint to like get my coffee faster, maybe. But the automation and all that stuff, I feel like that just would deter myself. It would deter me from going into this place. And I know, we've talked on this show and I've seen, the Capital One cafes. And honestly, I don't even know necessarily what happens in there or what they do in there. And I've been deterred from going in because I'm like, that seems like a place that would take a lot longer to get my coffee than if I just went to this other Starbucks. So I guess we'll have to see. But to me, this seems like from a coffee sales standpoint, it's going to, make it a little bit too difficult.
Yeah. Well, just to say, the Capital One Cafe, it's just a regular coffee shop.
Okay.
Where also you can do banking.
because that's what I need to do. I've been at Starbucks before and said, I really need to deposit this paper check right now. What am I going to do otherwise?
The one thing also I'll just say about the coffee shops, and we've kind of talked about this before, is there is an equity issue to all of this, that you are putting everything on a phone, on everything on a credit card. And that is not everyone has that. So you are automatically, restricting a huge group of people. And I know too, with COVID, I can't tell you how many places I go and they're like, oh, we're not doing cash right now. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So, there's something that it clearly seems like we're going that way, but just something to, it's happening fast and it does not treat everyone equally.
They've, I know at least some of the Amazon Go locations have adapted to starting to accept cash because they're in the city and there is like, I don't know, like say 20% of the population is unbanked. I'm just kind of guessing on that. I mean, that's a lot of people. And you really can't be perceived as being discriminated against them. But Ebere, to your point about technology, Starbucks has a whole transformation strategy going on right now where they want to do more mobile ordering. They want shorter wait times. They want contactless pay. They are pretty sure that's what most people want. I know that every once in a while, I love hanging out at the Starbucks or other coffee shops. But a lot of time lately, man, when I'm 10 minutes away, I order on my app and then it's there when I get there and I'm cruising through. So I don't know. That seems to be the trend that they're heading toward.
Absolutely. And I don't want to derail us too much, but just a quick tangent. I ordered Chipotle yesterday on the Chipotle app and went to go pick it up and it was all cool. And then when I got home, somehow the Chipotle app was hacked and someone ordered Chipotle on my card, $70 worth to a location in the Bronx. That was the only charge on my card that was unusual. It was all through the Chipotle app. But as you're talking about the convenience of these apps and moving more in that direction, I have to it happened to me yesterday evening. I was sitting in this very chair angrily typing with Chipotle support, trying to figure out and rectify the issue. So definitely, these security concerns are something that will, be of importance as we continue to migrate to this sort of cashless, prepaid order ahead sort of society. But just wanted to bring up that very timely anecdote.
Chipotle's like, are you sure you didn't order $70 worth of Chipotle?
That's a bummer, man.
And they were very helpful. They refunded me, immediately. But I obviously took my card off the app. I was going to delete the app. I was in, the chat thing, really going off because I was just so confused. It said, your delivery is almost there. I'm like, delivery, and then I'm looking. It said to some address in the Bronx that I've never been to, and I was like,
well, hey, kudos to Chipotle for taking care of it. Though.
Absolutely, they're very responsive and they're very helpful.
That is an app I use all the time. Chipotle, Starbucks. What else do I use a lot? The Five Guys. Those are my food apps.
Absolutely.
All right. So moving on to partnership number 2. Party City is a public chain of party stores with over 800 locations. Main Event is a private chain with 44 locations, which is an arcade, bowling, laser tag, party place. Have you guys been to Main Event? Taylor, did we go to Main Event that one time, or was that no? That was a Dave & Buster's. Yeah.
How could you forget?
Yeah, I have been to a Main Event, but I think it was in Chicago. So anyway, it's a partnership that makes sense. So Main Event, a big part of their revenue is doing parties. So you hold your Taylor. Just get ready to take notes because you're going to be using this in a couple of years. You sign up for a party package, and it's like a cost per person. The cheapest ones that I've found at Main Event are $11.99 per kid, and that'll get you like, a game of bowling or some food or access to laser tag. The high end ones will cost like $30 a kid, and you'll get like unlimited video games for 3 hours, and you get a party space. So you're signing up for these online, and it's an opportunity to get an upsell. And so Main Event is partnering with Party City for a new upsell called Party Packs. So there's 5 different party packs they're going to offer. The most basic one is, add a helium balloon or some numbered balloons with the kid's age on them, or add in plates and napkins and cutlery. And you can upgrade from there. So you can add in more stuff. I think that this makes a lot of sense for both of these chains. Party City and Main Event were really highly negatively affected by COVID. They're on a positive path now. Party City saw comps grow by 7.5%. Main Event, I was looking at their foot traffic. They've been on a growth trajectory with that. There was a kind of a peak in July, came down a little bit with Omicron, but it's been back since for like 4 months now on an upward growth trend. So people want to do parties. And if you want to make money at Main Event, I think one way to do it is to offer all these different upsell packages. I'm sure there's like tons more they could be doing, right? Like, I don't know who else could they partner with? They should Chipotle. I want to get the
Chipotle kind of honestly, like a Chipotle. Oh, you don't want I'm sure, I don't know, you could get into this, but you want to bring in burritos, you want to bring in this pizza, or this amount, and we'll give this to you. I'm just thinking that totally makes sense of my short time of being a parent. I'm like, oh, I'll pay this premium if you'll just do this for me, and I can take this off my to-do list, and I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah, and I haven't had food at Main Event, but I've been to parties at bowling alleys where they require you to buy the food that they have there, and it is awful. So much worse. And you're like, but there's, you can look out across the parking lot and see there's a Chipotle out there. Why can't we get takeout and bring it here? That would be so much better.
I almost feel like that's like a ghost kitchen or something. It's like you close your kitchen and being like, yeah, cool. These are you can order Chipotle, you can get Domino's, you can get, Five Guys.
Yeah. And then just tack on a 20 to 40% surcharge.
Yes. And it's of course.
On top of that, you're good to go.
Someone will pay it.
Exactly. Someone will.
So I think just to sum up partnerships, I think a lot of times they make sense. I think that main event one with Party City makes a lot of sense. And I think an opportunity there actually is pretty solid for Starbucks to roll out more Amazon technology just to make a fast and easy digital experience. So we'll see how
Real
it goes. Oh, I forgot
real
to say
quick.
there's
Oh,
two
yeah.
more planned locations coming for that Starbucks Amazon mix. One's going to be at the New York Times building, which is right near Times Square. And then they haven't announced where the other one is, but I'm assuming it's also going to be somewhere in Manhattan.
James, you said something really quickly, but also just like I don't want us to call it the barrier of entry, but it's almost like the barrier of like comfort. More people feel probably comfortable walking into a Starbucks and experiencing that versus like, I'm not going into Whole Foods to go and do that. So
Yeah.
that now that I, whatever, questionable on the palm print paying, but I just, again, in terms of that partnership, I think it makes a ton of sense in terms of like, yes, this is our technology. You use it at Starbucks. We're friendly and safe.
Yeah, that's a great point. And other interesting thing too is that some percentage, I'm going to guess and say 15 to 20% of coffee drinkers are still really intimidated by Starbucks, even though we're a good 20, 30 years into this world of espresso drinks. But a lot of people are just like, I just want a coffee and I don't even understand what I'm looking at in here. So like when you see that technology roll into like a Dunkin' Donuts or, one of those kind of, basic coffee chains
where you order a medium and not a grande.
Right. Well, I still forget. I've been going to Starbucks for like 20, 30 years now, right? And I still forget their sizes. So I often will say medium, small, medium, large.
And they know what you mean, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I know.
I've never even tried to learn. I just say, can I please have a medium?
Yeah. Good for you, Ebere. Good for you. I'm always with my wife. I'm like, well, wait, large is tall. No, wait, it's venti.
I don't even know.
Yeah. No one knows, Ebere. No one knows. All right. Are you folks ready for a little bit of a retail challenge?
Oh boy.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, it's time for the retail challenge. We're going to do 1 point per correct question. The most correct question points when we're done win. I'm the quiz master. Ebere and Taylor are playing along. I'm going to ask you, Ebere and Taylor, to keep your own points. So as you get a point, just write it down or keep track or maybe hold up fingers or something like that. And if you're watching live at home, you are more than welcome to play along too. You can, if you get the most correct answers in the chat room, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on LinkedIn or on Twitter, if you get the most questions correct, you can call yourself the winner of the Everything We Know chat room. So that'll be awesome. All right.
Go.
So today's questions are related to the topics that we talked about. The first thing is about Starbucks. So we talked about Starbucks in New York. There was a time, believe it or not, when there were no Starbucks in New York City. When did Starbucks open its first location in New York City? Was it 1983, 1993, or 2003? Taylor, I'll let you go first.
1993.
1993. All right. Ebere, what do you think?
I was going to choose that as well, but I'm going to go 1983 to make things a little spicy.
Nice.
All right. Well, you're welcome to both pick the same one. You don't have to. Because of that, Ebere, you are actually incorrect. Taylor is right. The first Starbucks opened at Broadway and 87th Street in 1993 in New York, which is funny because that doesn't. Okay, for me that doesn't feel like that long ago. but anyway, so Taylor, you've got 1 point. Ebere, you've got 1 point. And Veronica chose 1993. So you are also correct, Veronica. You've got a point.
You know, the first Ebere actually opened in 1993 as well. That's why I wanted to pick that year, but Taylor beat me to it, so it's all right.
Guys, this is why I don't talk about ages, because saying that just makes me so old, Ebere. I'm not even going to tell you what I was doing that year. All right, so on to number 2. Taylor, you briefly mentioned the brand Joybird, which sells mid-century modern style furniture. And I'm so thank you for bringing it up So thankful for you bringing it up because I had not known about it before. And there's a bunch of crazy cool stuff for sale from Joybird.
Joybird.
Just bought something from them. No joke. I know a lot about home furnishings. A pull-out couch.
Oh, right on. Okay. So let's see if you know this about Joybird. Joybird was founded in 2014 and it was acquired in 2018 by a large furniture brand. Is Joybird now owned by Wayfair, Lazy Boy, or Ashley Home Store? And I guess Ebere will let you go first. Who owns the Joybird furniture line?
I mean, Taylor definitely knows the answer, but I'm going to guess. I'm gonna say Wayfair. I'm just gonna say Wayfair.
All right. I think that's a good guess.
I'm also gonna say Wayfair, but I do want to say that I am weirdly thinking it could be Lazy Boy, but I'm gonna go Wayfair as well.
Okay.
I don't know much about Lazy Boy, but it just I don't know. It'd be like one of those things that could be really surprising.
This is all I know about Lazy Boy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also because I did just buy a pull-out bed couch. No, it's a pull-out couch. Anyway, Wayfair.
All right, you both chose Wayfair. The answer is Lazy Boy.
What?
Lazy Boy acquired Joybird in 2018. All right, so finally,
I had a feeling it wasn't Wayfair because I know Wayfair is opening a bunch of their stores, a bunch of their brand stores, which I'm forgetting. And Joybird is not one of them, and it was separate. Point. So I should have known. I should have known better, mostly because I am aware. Joss & Main, I think, is one of their brands, and they're opening Joss & Main stores now as part of their expansion. So anyway, fun fact. But Joybird sends you fabric samples, and I just literally have a whole box of fabric samples, and we picked a couch the other day. It's for our home office whenever we move.
All right, so we're 2 questions in, and Taylor, you've got 1 point. Ebere, you've got 0. Is that right?
Unfortunately.
All right, so now we're moving into a speed round. This is something different. This is a Rihanna speed round.
Let's go.
So the way this is going to work, as Ebere explained, Savage X Fenty was launched by Rihanna, whose name is Robin Rihanna Fenty. So it's after her last name. Rihanna exclusively uses her last name Fenty in her non-music business. So not to conflate the two. So if you see Fenty, you know it's not music if it's Rihanna. So speed round. I'm going to name a music star, and you're going to tell me what their business would be called if they did as Rihanna did and named it after their last name. So what I'm saying is I'll name a star, and you have to say what their last name is. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Now, this is not each of you answers. It's whoever answers this first gets a point. We're going to do 5. They're going to go from easy to hard. So you guys ready? You understand what you have to do? Just shout out the answer. Whoever shouts it out first wins.
Let's go.
All right. Last name, Jay-Z.
Carter.
All right. 1 point to Ebere.
Let's go.
All right. Eminem.
Marshall.
What did you say, Ebere?
Mathers.
You're right.
Yeah, Ebere got
Marshall
it.
was his first name. Look, I want to give myself half a point for that. I'm in it.
All right. So, Marshall Mathers the third. I did not realize he was a third. All right.
Here's legacy.
Here's another one. Beyonce.
Knowles. Come on.
I would
Knowles
accept
Carter.
I would accept Knowles Carter or Knowles Carter.
That I would have gotten to, but you just needed to give me 10 to 12 seconds. I also would have gotten the other 2, but give me 10 to 12 seconds.
So am I right that Ebere's gotten all 3 of these so far?
It looks like it.
And very quickly. Again,
right.
I need 10 to 12 seconds.
So now stuff's going to get a little bit harder. Madonna.
Ciccone? How do you pronounce it?
Something Italian.
I forget how to pronounce it. I think it is Ciccone. It's Ciccone. So Taylor, you got a point.
Fragapane. So
and finally, here's the super hard one that I don't think anybody's going to get. Cher.
Matthews. I don't even think I know. No, like also same with Madonna, but I just feel like no,
I
it's
don't
just
have
Cher.
anything.
It's just Cher.
Blank. Trick
Yeah.
question. She doesn't have one.
So Cher was born Sherilyn Sarkisian. Sarkisian.
Never.
I've lost track. Do you guys know how many points you have? Ebere, you got a bunch there, right?
I have
Very
3.
one. It's fine.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, our winner of the retail challenge is Ebere Anokute. Ebere is going to win an NFT of the winner animated GIF. Do GIFs have any? Can you do NFTs of GIFs? I don't know.
I think the point is that you can do anything.
We should make a challenge NFT.
Anything digital you can do. We can take a screenshot of this right now and sell it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We just, Taylor, could we just take about a half an hour out of our research this week and figure out how to create our own NFTs? Because I think a Where We Buy NFT, like a photo of us, it's got to be worth at least one. What do you sell them as? Like Ethereum? One Bitcoin?
ETHs. I think they're called ETHs. One ETH.
One
But it also
crypto.
depends on where
one Doge.
It depends on where you sell it.
All right, we're gonna figure that out. In the meantime, I want to encourage everybody to dig in more to the latest in cool retail trends and conversations on our audio podcast. There's some overlap. Some of the shows that go out on this feed also go out on the podcast, but we do a lot of in-depth conversations you're only going to find on our Where We Buy podcast. It's at wherewebuy.show, or you can just search for Where We Buy on whatever podcast app you enjoy listening to podcasts on. Mine is Spotify and Castro are the two that I use.
Absolutely. And I use the Apple Podcast app. But if you use YouTube, you can also be sure to hit the subscribe button over there and click on the little bell icon so that you are notified when new shows come out each week.
You want another method? I've got one. You can follow the JLL retail page on LinkedIn. We will be back next week. New episode next Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. You can find that on everythingweknow.show or, as I just mentioned, on the JL Retail LinkedIn page.
Absolutely. Well, Taylor, tell us, when it comes to the metaverse, which retail sort of technology do you think is going to get us into that sphere first? I want to hear what you think.
Great question. Tell you all of it next week.